Good morning. Thank you for watching. Uh, Another cool morning. Hopefully, it's going to warm up a little bit. Get some stuff planted in the garden. Um, this morning, we have a long list of folks to pray for. Uh, Emily Bolden Smith, she's back in the hospital, had some more surgery. Keep her in your prayers. Pam had a cousin this week, had a procedure. Uh, Pray for him and his family. And Pam's other cousin, his wife, she got a negative cancer report this week, so that's a really good thing. Maybe she's gonna be okay. Uh, Pray for my friend Benny Blair. We went and visited with him a little bit yesterday, and he's still got some issues going on. We need to pray for him. Uh, Got my cousin Jackie. I think she goes tomorrow for some tests, and pray for her and her family. Uh, we also need to pray for the Mark Nichols family. He passed away. Keep them in your prayer. Also need to pray for my brother. He's having some back issues. Uh, and my aunt down in Murfreesboro in the hospital. So please pray for all those folks, and maybe they'll all get straightened back out. And but today we're going to continue on with our Proverbs, and it's the wise man according to Proverbs. And I don't remember if I said this last week or not, but this also applies to the women folk. So you're not going to get off that easy. So this applies to everybody. You can get some good out of this. And we're going to continue on here, and it says, "He is humble and not proud." And chapter 15, verse 33, "Fear of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom, and before honor is humility." God doesn't like proud. Proud always comes to an end because it's just not God's way. He would rather have a humble person than a proud person. Uh, he is self-controlled, not rash. He has a calm temperament. He is self-controlled. In chapter 29, verse 11, "A fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keepeth in till afterwards." A fool will say everything he thinks, but a wise man will learn to be quiet. Remember, we have two ears and one mouth. I mentioned that last week. Uh, have you ever been in a conversation with folks, and uh, you know what's going on, but folks, they'll talk, and just to hear themselves talk, I think. Um, they'll just go on, it's something that they don't even know about. And that makes me feel bad for them because it just, everybody's just kind of looking at them and they're thinking, man, won't you just be quiet? And sometimes it's better to be quiet than to prove your ignorance. So it's always wise to be listening and know what's going on. He has a calm spirit. That's in chapter 17, verse 32. "He is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city." The enemy within us is difficult to conquer than the one without. So a calm spirit, slow to anger. Man, we need some of that these days. We got folks that just gets mad at the drop of a hat, and you got to calm down. You got to take a deep breath and realize that we just being calm. You learn the situation a little better, and it's easier to make decisions if you're calm. If you're mad and throwing a fit, it's not going to be good. You can't make good decisions when you're like that. So it's always good to be calm and be slow to anger. Uh, he's slow to become angry in chapter 29, verse 8. "A scornful man bring a city into a snare, but a wise man turneth away wrath. In chapter 14, verse 29, he that is slow to wrath is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly. And this is going to be a wise man's actions. He is cautious, not hasty. Chapter 28, verse 20. A faithful man will abound with blessings, but whoever hastens to be rich only comes to poverty. A faithful man should expect to gain wealth only by hard work and not by get-rich-quick schemes. And grasping for riches, one often stoops to practices that result in spiritual poverty. And in chapter 21, verse 5, the plans of the diligent lead to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes to poverty. You know, there's always somebody that's got a get-rich-quick scheme that you probably need to think about and stay away from. In chapter 13, verse 11, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. Wealth is not the result of honest labor, will not be a blessing to the one who acquires it. So if you acquire wealth in a way that's not an honest way, it's just going to come to a bad end. So you got to watch about how you do your business. God wants us to do business in an upright way and be honest about it and not take advantage of folks. And I remember years ago, there was a group of guys in our shop that was trying to get, that had gotten mixed up in a pyramid scheme. And there was a lot of good folks that lost a bunch of money, but other folks like myself, we were telling them, don't get into this. It's a bad deal. It's a pyramid scheme, and they saw the money. They thought they were going to gain money out of this, and there's a lot of them lost money over it. And money made like that is just never going to be right. You're just not going to prosper for that. And there was a few of those guys, or one of them in particular, he was lucky he didn't go to jail. And so that's not a good thing. Don't be trying to get rich quick. You know, you got to work for it and earn it and do it in a way that's upright. And he thinks before he acts. In chapter 13, verse 16, every prudent man dealeth with knowledge, but a fool leaveth open his folly. In chapter 14, verse 8, the wisdom of the prudent is to understand his way, but the folly of fools is deceit. And so he thinks before he acts. You know, you can't just go and do stuff before you think about it. You got to have a plan. You got to do stuff right. He thinks before he speaks. Man, we got a bad problem with that these days, and I'm talking about myself too. In chapter 12, verse 23, a prudent man concealeth knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaim foolishness. Fools are anxious to tell everything which they think they know. Wise men are more careful with their comments. And this week we had an issue at work. I was fortunate enough to be able to take a meatloaf sandwich to work, and that ended up being a tale on myself. I proceeded to tell a couple of my buddies a story about meatloaf. And so about, I had been married just maybe a few months. It happened pretty quick. I came home one afternoon from work, and my wife was in there in the kitchen cooking me a big supper. And I opened the back door, and all I could smell was onions. And I'm not a big fan of onion. But Pam had made me meatloaf. And so I sat down to supper and started eating on the meatloaf, and I made a bad comment. I didn't think about it before I did. And I said, Pam, I know Mom would be happy to show you how to make meatloaf. And my buddies just busted out laughing, and they thought that was neither one of them could believe I actually said that. So my meatloaf came to an end that day. And it was years before my son was big enough to ask for meatloaf that I ever got any more meatloaf. And I was told at that time that I wouldn't be getting meatloaf if it wasn't for my son wanting it. So I am back on the meatloaf train. And that just proves that people say things before they think. I didn't mean to make her upset, but I did. And I'm sure I've made her upset several times since then. But think about things before you say them. And what seems right to you may not seem right to somebody else. You got to run that through your head. And I'm not good at doing that. Sometimes my mouth just overruns everything else. And I say it and I don't mean it. But it happens. And so I hope my wife has forgiven me after 38 years about meatloaf. She makes a great meatloaf and I enjoy it very much. But watch about what you say. A wise man is careful about his comments. And, you know, the Bible tells us that the tongue is an unruly beast. It just gets away from you. So you got to be careful about that. So I hope if you get meatloaf, enjoy it and keep your mouth shut. So thank you very much for watching. That's the end of my lesson for today. We're going to continue on a little bit with some more Proverbs. So y'all have a good day. Thank you for watching, and God bless.